I think it's fair to say you have become legendary because of your philanthropy and devotion to the cause of animals. When and where did that begin?
Well, like millions of Americans, or probably millions and millions and millions of people in the world, I was just born with a love of animals. I loved animals from the day I can remember, and I've had animals around me my entire life. And as a matter of fact, I feel sorry for people who don't enjoy animals because they miss so much of life. But as a kid, I used to pick up strays and I'd try to help an animal that was injured, and I've just always loved them.
Do you recall a first zoo experience?
I don't recall a zoo experience. I recall a circus experience. They had the animals in tiny cages. They could hardly pace, but they'd go this way and then this way and then this way. And I looked at them and I was shocked because I thought that there's something wrong, you know, that he wants out of there. And I asked my mother about it. She said, well, that's what they have to do, and so on. And I just said I wanted to go home. I didn't enjoy the circus at all, and I never went to another circus.
And at what point did the zoos come under your purview?
Well, you don't have to know much about animals to know that zoos are not a very good place for animals. I became convinced early on that zoos are prisons for animals, and that no animal is in a zoo because it wants to be in a zoo. Every animal in every zoo in the world would much rather be in its natural habitat. So we begin with that. Yeah. We are torturing them from day one. And they can say what they want. Oh, we take good care of our animals here. We love our animals here. If they love their animals there, turn them back into the wild. Of course, they're probably ruined now. They couldn't. But they don't love animals, or they wouldn't have them there.
Maggie. When did you first learn of the situation of Maggie?
I've forgotten exactly when I learned of it, but when I did learn of it, I went up to see Maggie. I went up to a press conference it was in Alaska, and I went up there for a press conference and went out and saw her, and I was with Ed Stewart of PAWS Sanctuary, and of course he is an authority on an international authority on elephants, and even I could see that Maggie was not well. She was so thin that her hide was just hanging on her, and she had fallen twice and couldn't get up before we went up there. She had, and you looked into her eyes, and they were just hopeless. There was no hope in her eyes at all. Yeah. And I asked Ed, well, there were people around us, and I didn't want to then, but I asked him later, what's the situation here? What do you think? He said, that elephant is dying. It's going to be dead if we don't get her out of here. And of course, we made every effort to get her out of there, and fortunately, we were successful.
So Maggie was a success story.
Maggie is a huge success story.
At what point after that did you become informed about Lucy at the Edmonton Zoo?
Oh, I would imagine it was probably a year or two after that I heard about Lucy.
Was that an equivalent situation?
It was equivalent, and is still equivalent, unfortunately, for Lucy. She is all alone. She's been there in Edmonton for 30-some years. She, too, is slowly dying, and has one thing after the other. She has chronic foot infections, and that's the biggest killer of elephants in captivity, foot infections. And she's inside like 75% of the time in a year. And she has a respiratory problem. They claim that she can't be moved because of this respiratory problem. And they brought a so-called expert from Southern California to come up there and examine her. And I don't want to mention his name because I have absolutely no respect for him. He didn't know anything. He had no idea what was wrong with her. And to this day, as we speak right now, they still don't know what's wrong with her. And I offered the city $100,000 just to let us bring experts in to diagnose her problem. And the city won't even do that. Now, this shows you how much they love Lucy.
There seem to be a number of mixed messages. On one hand, they say she is healthy.
That's right.
On the other hand, they say she's too ill or potentially too ill to
Precisely.
travel.
You put your finger on it perfectly. If you start talking about moving, oh, she can't move, she's not well, she can't move, it would kill her, she can't move. And then you start talking, well, how she's just here alone, it's terrible. Oh, she's happy here. She loves it here. She loves her keepers. I'll tell you how much she loves her keepers, probably. I was up there for a press conference, and we went out to the zoo, and the cameras that were out there, the television stations were covering our visit to the zoo. And so Lucy wasn't there. She was across a big field. And we were standing here waiting for her to come up to where we were going to have her on camera and so on. And here she came. And there was a keeper at each shoulder, and there was a keeper at each hip, and they were carrying elephant hooks. Each had an elephant hook. You know what an elephant hook is? They can dig into their flesh, and their flesh is very, very tender, actually. And they were walking. And believe me, she'd been on a wonderful walk. She probably couldn't go any place she wanted to go. They led her right straight where we were, and there she came. And I thought, how wonderful. They're getting shots of her approaching with not one, not two, not three, but 4 keepers with 4 elephant hooks, and she's supposed to be happy.
The arguments that have been made, and you've pointed this out before, are all financially oriented.
Well,
what are the
animal exploitation begins with greed.
Yeah.
If circuses, rodeos, zoos, they're all out for money. That's the whole thing. Puppy mills, and you name it. It's greed. They want to make money, and they will make money at the expense of any kind of animal. Yeah. Be it a puppy or an elephant. It's disgusting.
And for the Edmonton Valley Zoo, or any zoo, the elephant, in this case Lucy the elephant, is the symbol, is the headline.
I don't know what it is. They've had so much bad publicity, I can't imagine why they would keep that elephant there. Yeah. But they're going to let her die there, apparently. I don't know anything more to do than we've already done.
Now, for some reason, that didn't discourage you.
No,
as far as your involvement with Canadian elephants is concerned.
If it's not just Canadian elephants, I work on elephants all over the world, and not just elephants, but animals of all type. If you become discouraged as an animal rights activist, why you're useless, you're worthless. In fact, when I speak with animal rights groups, I know so many of them, they become burned out because it is discouraging. Mm-hmm. And you do have a lot of defeats, and you are so discouraged sometimes. You think, oh, and it would be easy to just give it up. Yeah. And some people do. Not a lot, but some people do. And I don't become discouraged.
Toka, Thika, and Iringa are the 3 Toronto elephants.
Right.
You made a very substantial offer to the city of Toronto. What was it?
Well, Pat Derby called me and said that they had the 3 elephants. They thought they were going to be able to get them. Mm-hmm. And they said that they could bring them by truck. And it would take, I think, about 3 weeks. And she was concerned about the one elephant that has the foot problem surviving a 3-week ride. Mm-hmm. And she said, we could fly them, but she said it would cost around $880,000. I said, I have $880,000 and I'll be happy to pay it. I want them to fly rather than go by truck. So she said, great, that's great. And so they made the proposal to them, and now the zoo, the city council voted that in favor of the 3 elephants from Toronto Zoo going to PAWS. But the zoo has, and now I have not been a part of these negotiations, but they have used every impediment possible to prevent it.
So much of environmental debate has become politicized in recent years.
Well, certainly the elephant debate has become politicized, and zoos in general.
Yeah, would people see you as having political motives in?
Well, I have no political motive.
No, but would you be criticized by some on the other side, if that's the right term, for doing this politically?
I don't know of anyone who's ever criticized me politically. Yeah. I've certainly been criticized. I was the whipping boy of the fur industry for a long time after I resigned from the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants, and we had Cause Fur Flap 1 and Fur Flap 2. Yeah. But it was the best thing that ever happened, the fur campaign. We went downhill from then on.
So I gather from what you just said that being called an animal rights activist is not anathema to you. You don't mind that at all.
No, I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be identified as an animal rights activist. Yeah. Sure. I believe in what I'm doing, and plan to continue until my dying day doing what I'm doing. And if I'm identified as an animal rights activist, good for me.
Yeah. Is there a larger issue here, do you think, that as far as the zookeepers and the Association of Zoos and Aquariums are concerned, that this is not only about Lucy or the 3 elephants at the Toronto Zoo, it's about the future of zoos?
Well, it's the future of zoos, yes, I suppose, and certainly the future of elephant habitats in zoos. Mm-hmm. When, as I say, the better informed, the more progressive zoos of the world are closing their elephant exhibits, that ain't good for the people who want to keep zoos open with any kind of animal they want. And I think that they're concerned about that. They're concerned. It's money. They're probably concerned about their jobs, the zookeepers, so on. And the mayor, I don't know why he is so obdurate there in Edmonton, but he is, apparently, if what I was told is true. And as I said and keep saying, not only to you, but to anyone who listens, money. It's all based on money. Yeah. And if you can remove the profit from it, they're not going to be interested in keeping elephants or anything else in zoos.
Yeah.